technique and successful in radio show after the Dr.
Yeah, like a
Akin.
radio infomercial?
Radio live talk show, call-in talk show.
Okay.
You might wonder my action, I don't care, okay? But it's a successful, I beat the example like a cardiologist, eye doctor, I'm still there. One thing is that the radio station sold out, so I have lose my chance to become a multi-millionaire. I have no got to become more spa there. So now I find a small radio station, is Christian station. Before me is talking about Bible. After me talking about Christ. Christ. So only me is talking about the health. And I did have experience. One day I can make several $1,000 up to $10,000 for just a half an hour show.
Yes.
But there's a big issue is that I use the tactics to saying, make event. I even lose because every new patient come, I have to donate $25 for the charity. This is my own will.
Okay.
So I ask you, if you put the $20 for me, and usually I charge you $150 for whole package, and you come. So they make appointment. But we ask, would you give us a credit card so we can book your appointment? Yes. They don't. They scared because people scared. And the problem is for appointment, maybe only one appointment they show up.
Okay, so 1 out of 5?
So I don't have a leverage there, I don't have a control.
I understand.
So I'm thinking about maybe that yesterday Golden's way is really good. So just go for it, and there's no leverage. Now, no leverage could be the best leverage. I'm thinking about our way.
And you're delightful, but it's a little hard sometimes for me to fully understand. What do you think he said, Spike?
No,
because I want to answer the question, but I want to make sure that I heard it correctly.
All right. If you make an appointment to me,
yes,
and I ask $20 only, but you need to give me the credit card, yes, you won't accept.
So
you make an appointment, you
that?
don't even cancel, you don't show up.
Yeah. So what are you asking?
I don't have a control for this.
So I know it, but it turned into a question.
My question is, how can I make them have a commitment?
Okay, I got it. Okay, there's a lot of ways. First of all, let me make some points. There are people that I know who are doing $60 million a year running radio infomercials. They run on as many stations in a market as they can. They have tested, they've got a really cool, you might try creating, because it doesn't cost very much to produce a couple of them, a couple $1,000. You might create one, and the one, and it can build this in as you can preempt that. You can have one of the people say, I called his office, I was amazed. He didn't ask me for the credit card. All he said was, if you make an appointment, if you have a problem, I'm here for you. If you make an appointment, all we ask is that you don't use the time that someone else could and not show up. And you put that into a moral sort of a contract in your infomercial, and you set it up that way. When people call, you basically have your staff. Again, just test this. I can't promise this works. You're asking for a knee-jerk response. I'm giving you an extemporaneous answer with the caveat, you got to test it. But if you go to the market, when people call in and they say, let me finish. When they call your office, you have congruency. Your receptionist or your booking person says, Dr. Abraham, will look so forward to seeing you. He will do this. You don't have to pay for the first, or you pay when you come, but if you make the appointment, we have so many people trying to get an appointment that if we commit you to a time, he asks only that you be there and you give us your word, because we will send you a bill if you don't, and you sort of test that. And usually that approach will work, but you got to explain, you got to test.
I did many times, it's not work.
Well,
people don't pay you, they don't care.
Can I make a suggestion to you? And this is where I would, in a laboratory type of, a lot of times it's not that it doesn't work, it's the way it is articulated. It's not that it doesn't work, it's that the way you thought you executed it didn't come across. Spike, you want to comment? No? Okay, but I would challenge you to, if you want to, on one of our conference calls, have your office record what you think is their articulation, their verbalization of that, and let's see if it really comes across the same way. I've had many people at many programs challenge me, and you're not challenging me, and say, well, we did this and it didn't work. And I'd say, okay, let's see how you did it. And it turned out the way they verbalized it, the way they executed it, the way they used intonality, the way they demonstrated it, what it was totally different than what but they thought it was the same, but there's nuances. It's probably like I could probably go to acupuncture school and I can say, well, I put the needle in his left quadrant of his back and he didn't get relief. And you'd say, yeah, but you didn't twist it the right way, or you didn't push the right, or you put it in too deep, or not. Do you know what I'm saying? Does that make sense? Yes. Try again. Or let me see, or let me on a call with you work through some language patterns and maybe bring your staff on and let them present to me what they would say over the phone. And let's just see. I bet you money that it's execution. Not necessarily, but I bet it's execution. Hope that helps.
Thank you very much.
You're very welcome.
I realized last night when we were doing the headlines that we know very, very little about that top 20% of our customers that make us 80% of our money.
Okay.
What their needs are, what their drives are. So can you give us some insights into how to gather that? We're going to start by just calling them.
Yeah, well, I mean, first thing is talk to them.
Right.
The
But
second is start, bring them together. Have events where you can trial balloon different things. If you have a lot of people, you can test different propositions, or you can sort of send them an email or a letter or call and say, we're going to have a bunch of blank coming out, and we'd like to know you're interested in it, and give them a bunch of different topics, a number of headlines, and see what response is indicatively. You can hire, or you can, we had, this was so cool, and I wish I kept it. We had a relationship for a while with this woman in Houston who made all this money by interviewing of our research projects the clients of her clients' competitors, and asking them what they wanted, what they wish they got more from the people they dealt with, and they would tell them what they needed to do. You could have a third party, even if it was your wife or your brother or your cousin or somebody else, be a research institute calling and just say, call your client and say, I'm going to have some people research because we're trying to even grow the service and the value and the contribution. We'd love you. You're so valuable to us. Answer some questions. Just ask them. What more do you want? What don't you get? What do you need? Where are you going? Where's your business going? And just ask them. Does that help? Okay.
Hello.
Hi, hold it like that.
Thank you very much for everything, and thank you for the people that helped me with my strategy. One question I have is about bartering.
Okay.
I would like to barter for a brand new Land Rover car for my birthday, which is coming up in about a few months.
Okay.
And every day I go to work, I see this dealership, which is about 5 minutes away from my store. Now, I would like to hear how you approach the dealership and say you want a car by not taking a loan or paying for cash.
Well, then what is it that you have? You have pearls?
I have pearls, color stones, and diamonds.
You have really nice colored stones too?
Yes.
It's like,
but mainly pearls.
Yeah. So, you probably, I'm going to start with, I don't want to give you false delusions. Pearls may or may not be the best commodity for that, but you want to have a meeting with the owner. Make sure the owner, if it's one owned by AutoNation, one of the big chains, the odds are they probably aren't going to do it because they're a corporation. If it's a crazy entrepreneur, Ed, they might do it. You want to have a meeting with the owner and just say, I got a proposition. You may not be interested. I think you might, if you're married or you got a bunch of mistresses, you might like this. And I'm laughing, but you know that I'm talking truthfully, right, Ed? No comment. Okay. So then you say, hey, I'm in the precious gem business. We sell pearls, but we also have extraordinary emeralds, rubies, sapphires, and we can get diamonds too if you can. And you can say, I want a new Land Rover. You might have a wife or somebody significant that might love a 5-10 carat, drop dead, almost priceless, precious gemstone set in a ring. It would probably be worth $100,000, $200,000, and I'll trade you a higher value of stone for the car, and see what they say. What do you think, Ed? Yeah, I mean, and I wouldn't, I would, it depends on who it is. You almost have to have a meeting. What I would do is probably take some stones with you so they could see it. Say, I'll be glad to show it to your wife or your, whatever. And you might not get the first or the second or the third, or you might have to trade a partial. And you might, if they say, I don't know, my wife would like it, but that's too much. You might say, well, I'll tell you what, how about if we trade a lesser stone for half the value and step down? And you might also have better luck trading for a used one because they got more margin. And some of those are not floor planned, are they, Ed? I mean, it gets into complex financing, but if you're trading for a brand new one, they don't necessarily own it. The bank owns it. The margins aren't as good. A used one that's a year old maybe has 5,000 miles on it might be a better deal for them, but you got to bedazzle them. And because the concept is so abstract, I think you might be better off walking in with a case chained to your arm that has maybe $1 million at retail of stones and taking out and saying, I'm not saying do it, but this is a $150,000 diamond that if it was set in a ring would be to die for. This is and show it to them, but that's how I'd try. Does that help?
Yes, but I don't think I want a used car.
Okay, well, then
I'm kind of spoiled. My dad's
but
been
here's the
buying
deal.
me new cars.
Let's say you could trade for a year-old car.
Okay.
Let's say you're trading a stone that has real market value of, let's say, 60 grand. Let's say you guys own it. I don't know what you own it for, 15 or 20. Let's say you get a used one-year-old car that's worth 50. Okay. Now you got $50,000 worth of value that maybe you acquired for $20,000 worth of out-of-pocket. You could take that and then flip it again and trade it up for a brand new one and pay $10,000 difference, couldn't you?
Thank you. But how do I get the meeting to start? I mean, do I email first or send something?
No, I would go in
first?
and just say, I would try to get an appointment yourself.
Just go in and tell them that you're interested in buying a car.
Well,
and
just tell them you want to
and-
talk to the owner. Or,
And you want to talk to the owner.
There's little nuances, but if you want over the year, I'll work with you. We can try them. And I would test it, first of all, with some lesser situations to build your capability. But I would say in honesty that I probably you'd have trouble probably with pearls. And I will make you an interesting proposition. If you got gorgeous colored gems, I'll trade you for a colored gem if it's nice enough and teach you personally how to do it, because I got a wife that has an insatiable desire for beautiful jewelry. But the truth of the matter is you gotta build up your skill set. And I would test it smaller first and see, because you might blow it. Don't necessarily think that dealership is the best one to go to, but you got to go to a dealership that is probably controlled by an independent owner, not a corporation. And it's got to be somebody who's got a sense of materialism, really. I mean, what do you think, Ed? Yeah, and you might do it. That's a good. He's got another idea. Very cool. You might step down and say, maybe say, I'll trade it for a lease. And so, because the real risk is just the depreciation of the car and a little debt service. You might do it for short, long lease, whatever is the best deal. I mean, different deals are in vogue in different brands. I don't know enough about it, but you're trading for less risk. And if you have control of the car, do you really care? No. So you can have fun. You can say, I'll trade you. And if you want your wife to have new gems, more gems every 3 years, I'll keep trading it. You can have a lot of fun. Does that help you? Yes. Okay. Good idea, Ed. Yes, sir.
Hi. What distinctions, if any, or what other things do you think we should keep in mind for somebody that's marketing to or selling to companies as opposed to individuals in the
That's
things
a
that we've
pretty
discussed?
abstract question.
Okay.
Can you try to give it a little more granularity?
Um,
Because I don't know how to answer that real effectively. Try to ask it a little different.
okay.
What do you want to know, though? Okay, one of the things you got to realize about people making buying decisions, they're not faceless corporations. They are men or women, husbands and wives, fathers and mothers, people who have issues just like you. They have financial issues, weight issues, health issues, relationship issues, sexual issues, emotional issues, and treat them that way too. I mean, it's the old adage was, oh, see what they have on the wall and talk about fish or talk about, but I think it's basically being sensitive to the fact that and it's all about them. It's all about them, but it's not about them in patronization. We had at one time when we were teaching a predecessor of the strategy preeminence, we had a man cry, a very successful salesperson cry. And it was weird. I thought maybe, because I used to be, anybody who came to the old days, who came in the very early days to one of my programs? Anybody? Remember, I used to be more acerbic, wouldn't you say? I've mellowed over the years. I would just, yeah, we really did hot seats, or we would just tear somebody a new, or many new derrieres, and we were ruthless. And when Mac Ross and I were together, we could be brutal. And if a thing was going well, we'd purposely assail somebody just because we wanted to shake it up on the last day. And we did it purposely because we wanted to have some fun, but we wanted to rally the audience around that person. It was sort of fun. But I'm mellow today. But one of the things this man was crying about, I said, why are you crying? And he said, I thought I'd offended him. He said, I realized that I've been so busy trying to think of the next thing I'm going to talk about that I never listened. I'd ask questions and I never listened. I think you will gain immensely from learning consultative and advisory selling if you've never been taught that, because it teaches you how to respect, how to interact, but also how to respectfully not demand but command reciprocal respect for you, and to enter into a contractual sort of a relationship with people so that they respect you and your time, your expertise. But I think that if you really study the strategy of preeminence, this is going to sound like a one-size-fits-all. I think it is such a pliable piece of software for at least taking you, it's like a safety net that'll get you through a lot of stuff if you really try to understand it and appreciate it and sort of live it. That's not a great answer, but it's a starting point. Okay?
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
He's looking at his watch.
No, I was just looking to see how much time you've got before dinner so I can make sure I get you off on your merry way. No. I'm not trying to shorten your question.
No, I have a question on trying to increase some medical equipment that we make, but before I get to that, I appreciate all this stuff that you're giving to us, but what I really appreciate is the fact you've got a really good sense of humor, and I like that.